Hey guys, and welcome back to MotoringBox. I'm Sean McKellar, and today we're talking briefly about head units for BF Falcons. Now, if there's one thing about these cars which is pretty frustrating, it is really hard to upgrade these stock standard sound systems in these Falcons. There have been some aftermarket upgrades which you can replace the whole center ICC stack with. Back in the day, there was one called an Overline, which was basically an Android tablet. It is raining here, so please excuse the noise. There is a Kayhan Android touchscreen version as well. And more recently, there is an Aerpro double DIN fascia replacement piece. Now, these are all really good upgrades if you really hate the stock standard ICC, which is fitted to these cars. But there are a few reasons why I would advise you perhaps to think twice before purchasing one, because they are very expensive. The Kayhan unit kicks off at just over $1,000, and there are multiple add-on pieces which you probably want for like Android Auto, digital radio, things like that. So basically, once you tick a few of those options, you can be quickly up to say $1,600. So that is a lot of money. And the Aerpro unit, I think, is around $700 for just the fascia piece itself, excluding the head unit, which you'd have to purchase as well. So either way, you're probably looking at least $1,000 to replace your center stack in your BA or BF Falcon. And some people have said to me, you should get a Kayhan unit, you know, the big Android version. They look fantastic. Replace your center stack and do a video on it, you know? And I was considering it at one stage, but there is one big reason why I'm definitely not going to do it. The firstly is because of simplicity. I really love how the center ICC stack in these cars work. All of the aircon controls work really well. I think the sound quality is decent. There's some sound settings you can change as well. I have been able to put a Bluetooth module thanks to ASL Automedia. I purchased that for about 120, 130 bucks. Fantastic sound quality, loving it. So I've got pretty much everything I need as far as my driving entertainment goes. So when it comes to Android head units, or more specifically the Kayhan unit, I actually have experience with these units. Well, not the Kayhan in particular, but these sort of generic Android car head units, because I actually had a double DIN Android unit back in my NC Fairlane, back before I started YouTube. And having a look at these screenshots of the Kayhan unit, I can see several similarities between the software which is running on that system versus the one that I had back on that cheap double DIN unit. Let me tell you a secret about these units. They look fantastic, don't get me wrong. You have a look at the screenshot here of the Kayhan unit. It looks stunning. You know, it's a really modern upgrade for these cars. But that's really all you ever see. You see people showing them off in photos on Facebook and things like that. They're sitting in their car, they're watching videos, they're on the internet, they're playing with apps, they're doing all this stuff. And that is actually what you do when you install it. You're sitting there and you're thinking, wow, this is fantastic. I'm going to use all of these features all the time. But what happens after about a day or two is you pretty much end up using none of it. That's what happened with me back with my head unit back in the day. So really after the first week or so, at the very max, the only thing that was ever on that screen was either the FM radio screen or the Bluetooth audio streaming screen. And that was it. I only ever went back and forth between those two options. So before you dump a whole lot of money on either of these systems, have a really good think about what you're going to be using this system for. If you need a lot of GPS navigation, then say yes, the benefits of either Apple CarPlay or Android Auto are definitely going to be worth it. Getting that onto a screen in the middle of your dash is probably going to be a fantastic thing. But I usually just put my phone on a phone mount or on a phone holder, and I'll just use that to navigate from there because it's always faster, it's always smooth, it's always up to date, and you don't have to rely on a second system basically to run it. And another thing about these Android units is they take time to power on. So you get in your car, you turn the key, start the engine, the stereo receives power, and from the time it receives power till the time that unit actually turns on can often be at least 10 seconds. And 10 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, it sounds relatively quick. But if you actually sit here and go, now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Maybe now the unit would just be turning on, and that is probably the best case scenario. Sometimes it takes longer, and it is just something you think it's not a big deal, but then over time it becomes a really big deal. They can say in the specs that it has 8 cores, it has 4 gigs of RAM, it has this, it has that. It sounds fantastic, but in reality, they're often still slow as shit. It's just seemingly how it goes. I'm guessing that components are just really cheap. Perhaps the CPUs are subpar. They're probably farmed out from God knows where. You know, they're not good enough for smartphones, so they end up in these devices. And the last option to consider is longevity. The base systems in these cars, I've got the full color ICC, but whether you've got that or you've got the dual zone climate control version or you've got the base model version with the monocolored screen, they're basically bomb-proof. They're going to outlive the car probably, and yeah, they can go wrong from time to time, but they're going to last a heck of a lot longer than any of these aftermarket upgrades which are running Android. Because you think about how harsh the conditions are in the interior of your car when you park it out in the sun. And I have actually seen horror stories fairly recently of people who have a Kayhan unit and the screen is basically just blown out. It's just displaying white. It still works if you can sort of blindly fumble your way through the settings without seeing anything. But things can go wrong, and things can go wrong very, very badly, very quickly. And if it's out of warranty, which is probably 12 months, I assume, well, you're going to be up for a replacement unit, or you're going to be putting your stock standard ICC back in again. But it is another thing that just makes me nervous. I want to keep all of these stock standard controls as they are. And in a way, that's probably where the Aerpro unit is a little bit better, because it does have the physical controls up the top. But I'm generally not a fan of how that thing looks anyway. So at the very least, there are these two options available. If you've just listened to everything I've said and you think this guy's talking shit, I really want one of those, well, go and get one, because yeah, it is really good that we have these aftermarket options available as upgrades for these cars, because if we didn't have either of those, you wouldn't have a choice. So don't get me wrong, I'm not slamming these units, they're just not for me for those reasons that I've just explained. So yeah, to sum it all up, a lot of those features which those units offer do sound amazing, but think about you driving every day. How much of a difference are they actually going to make? If you think it's going to make a heck of a lot of a difference and I'm talking shit, go and buy one. But if you agree with one or more of the things I've just said, do have a really good think about it, because that is a lot of money which could be spent elsewhere on your car, improving it, or just elsewhere in life. So yeah, look, that's it guys. It's really all it comes down to. Everyone can make their own choice. This is my choice. I'm not incorrect because this is what suits me. But you don't have to agree with what I'm saying. And if you don't agree, go and buy one of those units, knock yourself out and have a good time. So thank you very much for watching. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.